Welcome back, everybody, to the one is probably one or two, maybe more, F1 2016 mod episodes. Obviously, we are running out of tracks now. We've already used up all of the people, or all of the cars, because obviously it doesn't mean anything, the actual person to anybody. So we're back now. Now the difference on this one is obviously this time we are using new graphical mods. So we've lost the speedo in the bottom hand corner, which obviously wasn't much of a help anyway. And we have gained a more Sky Sports looking top left hand corner in the top left hand, sort of, where it shows the graphic of what place you are and all that. So as I go completely wide, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. I just clearly forgotten how to drive, if I ever knew in the first place. It's wee for everybody. Now I also installed from last episode, which was the Austrian one, a new AI mod, which seems to have made them all slightly slower. Maybe I'm just getting used to it. I would be very surprised, because as I say that, everybody comes flying past me as I just dive down the inside of Vettel and Raikkonen there. Yeah, I don't know what it is. The AI seem, the visual mods are working perfectly. As you can see, the way the setup looks is a hell of a lot better. Even the cars themselves look better. As I lift into this corner all the time. It's Chinese Grand Prix, obviously. I forgot to mention it at the start, but it's a terrible. I've always hated this track. Left it to the last because it's one of those tracks that just seems to have, like, I understand that obviously corners, obviously going to be the way you take them changes, but the fact on these is that that middle sector there is just so stupid. Sometimes it does what it wants, sometimes it doesn't. I guess that's what makes an interesting race or an interesting track, but it's never been a favourite of mine, Canada. So obviously we are getting into, yeah, you'd have to believe that all the others are tracks that I'm good at, but yeah, so we are getting into the last few tracks here on F1 2014 with the 2016 mod. So obviously if anybody is a regular watcher, obviously a big kudos to you and thank you for that. But if not, then if anybody does want to mold this channel into something that they may want to see some more of, obviously the primary focus of it all is always going to be motorsport. So the next one I'm primarily looking at before the release of F1 2016, which obviously I will do a similar series like I did with 2015 when that first came out, which is obviously displaying all of the races, all of the cars, all of the setups, that kind of stuff, to sort of showcase how the game looks. Because a big thing with F1 2000, I think a big thing that the games themselves, to be honest, have been missing for quite some time with Codemasters is just a consistency of the way they look. I know it continues to change, and that's obviously good, but people have never been happy with me. The graphics have always looked a little bit cartoony, especially on the console version, so moving to the PC and then getting the mods down was always important to me. But obviously with the wheel and the immersion as well, that tends to help, and that's the shame with 2015. I don't really know why it doesn't support this wheel. It's not exactly like this is the cheapest wheel out there. It's obviously not the most expensive, but I'm pretty sure that they would cater to some of the sort of the smaller, more budget gamers, because obviously I work full time, but you've got other things. You've got a house, you've got rent, you've got payments, to make up for, as I'm sure many of you do understand. So it's interesting that they wouldn't cater a little bit, at least, to the way that you would have some smaller people that enjoy playing gaming, obviously not for YouTube for most cases, but just enjoying it in general. So weird that it doesn't cater to it, especially because 2014 does, and so do all of the other F1s that I've played. So it's interesting, but there we go, that's just how it is. So but yeah, as I say, it's an interesting one of finding out something you want to play next on this. Obviously 2015 I could jump back onto using the controller. I think most people have already seen it now, and everybody's sort of in the F1 mood of wanting to see sort of the new game and all that, and everyone seems to have sort of checked out a little bit, which is understandable. So if anybody wants to see something like Dirt Rally maybe, or I've never played Dirt Rally, but I have bought it. I've never really had the time to play it, but if anybody wants to see it, then we can definitely take a crack at that. That would obviously, I know for a fact that does work with this wheel because it's on the supported list. I've never tried it, and rallying is something which has always been incredible to me, but it's never been something that I've ever thought that I'd be particularly good at if I can't do circuit racing, for God's sake. So I know it's a completely different sport, but the point remains, if I'm losing Raikkonen in a lot as I go wide, Vettel's maybe going to have a little sniff down the inside, but he doesn't. He backs out. He's probably knows for a fact that he's got the speed on me on the straight, so he's probably going to try and do it down that back straight. But yeah, Dirt Rally is something that I've looked at for a couple of months really, but just not really put the time or the effort into jumping on and having a quick go, because obviously I need to set the settings up to be able to record and that kind of stuff. So I know for a fact that especially with especially with Project Cars, that if I'm looking back at a couple of the videos, even though we're using the same software and the same setup, and obviously the PC configuration is you're looking at like 1500 quid for the setup that I'm using at the moment, PC wise, it should be able to play everything at 60 frames per second, but with on ultra graphics. But Project Cars seems to struggle from the optimization, especially when running recording software, because even using Fraps, which has a capacity, or as always rule, Raikkonen has a engine blowout. That's a real shame to see. That's a very, very shame to see. But there you go. The joy of the sport, I suppose, on the last lap as well, even if it is only the third lap. But we won't tell him, that's fine. So it's yeah, I think with project cars, even though Fraps is showing at 120 frames per second, it tends to drop to about 60 to 80, you know, every now and again, which I think because of the way that it drops, even with, you know, VSync to stop screen tearing, I'm obviously not using 144 Hz monitor, I'm using a 59, but or 60 frames, but it's 60 Hz, sorry. It's definitely one of those things that it seems to show tearing on, and that's obviously a bit of a shame really, because I love project cars, but I just the quality from it just seems to suffer massively after, you know, if you're doing a sort of a video for it. So it's a bit of a shame. If anybody wants to see some more project cars, I'm happy to do it, but for now we'll leave project cars behind and start focusing on something new, maybe installing some new mods on F1 2015, which would obviously mean I need to use the controller as opposed to the wheel, but that's fine, I'm happy to do it. So I don't know, if anybody is watching, is a regular watching, wants to subscribe, then I'm going to mould this channel into a full Motorsport one, so, you know, obviously you'll have a huge impact and a huge input, as, you know, on what you want to see, and obviously I'll try and cater that as best as I can. So that was the Chinese Grand Prix, that was Romain Grosjean for the second time. I think the only... no, Jenson Button and Kimi Raikkonen dropped out. We saw Raikkonen do it, but we don't know what happened to Jenson Button, so it's unfortunate one for him. It looks like his best was only the first lap actually there, so maybe he had issues with Rio Haryanto getting a 206, so we're not really sure what happened to him either, because that's significantly off the pace, but I suppose that comes with the territory. So there you go, guys. If you did enjoy it, obviously it's much appreciated. Leaving comments, you know, likes obviously help, but more importantly comments to see what you want me to start uploading if you are interested in seeing more uploads from me. So there we go. That was probably the second to last F1 2016 video. I'm not sure. It depends on whether or not I can find some more tracks to do. I think the Texas Grand Prix is the one that's last. If I can get the Baku one to work, I would. We'll have a little play with that one as well. But until next time, guys, as I say, leave it underneath in the comments what you want to see, and I shall make it happen. So next time, guys, bye bye.